Jesus Christ, born this day, heaven's gift, hell's dismay, glory stream, shepherds quake, God with us, the silence breaks, peace on earth, good news, great joy, the King is here, and all rejoice, we will never tire, singing you have come, oh Emmanuel, Holy Son of God, we will lift you up, we will flood the skies, join the angels' song, fill the silent night. Wise men's feet led by light beneath the star, lay love divine in darkest hour, hope arrive with authority to pierce
Hey everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to Elijah Streams. It's December 19th, 2025. I'm your host, Kelsey O'Malley, filling in for Steve Schultz. We are pre-recording the show today. Dr. Scott Young will be joining me on the program. And as many of you are very well aware, the Federal Reserve has been controlling the money flow in America for over 100 years. And what if that powerful institution is coming to an end? And what if it's coming to an end even quicker than we realize? Well, Dr. Scott Young is joining me on the show to discuss the Federal Reserve, what's going on within the Fed, what does the future look like with the changing of the new financial system that is coming. So I'm very excited to have him on. Every time he's on, I learn something new. But before he joins me, I want to share with you one of our wonderful water well videos, which shows how God has used your generosity to bless so many families across Uganda.
Imagine if this was your child, your son, daughter, or grandchild. Now imagine them waking up before the sun rises, not to play, not to learn, but to walk for hours just to fetch water. And not clean water, dirty, unsafe water that could make them sick. For Angel, this was life.
Since I was a child, we did not have clean water. I walk 1.5 hours to get that water.
Imagine the impact. Her body weak from dehydration, her mind distracted by fear. Even when she was in class, she struggled to focus. She wanted to feel proud, but how could she? Her uniform never looked clean. Her image suffered. And when that time of the month came, the lack of water made everything even harder. But then everything changed. Because of you, Angel's Village received a new water well, fresh, clean water. No more exhausting walks, no more fear, no more holding back from drinking what her growing body needs. Water didn't just quench her thirst, it washed away struggle. It gave her confidence. It restored her hope. There are still children like Angel waiting for their time. Will you help bring clean water and hope to another child today?
Join us for an unforgettable journey to the Holy Land, the 2026 Israel Tour with ElijahStreams. Experience powerful worship with Robin Bullock and the 11th Hour Band. And be inspired by Steve and Doreen Schultz, Yvonne and Mina Attia, Mike and Lori Sally, and Michael Wilhelm. Steve Swanson will be leading us in music as we walk where Jesus walked. Worship at historic sites, and connect deeply with the land and its people. This is more than a tour. It's a spiritual encounter. Spots are limited, so register now at ElijahStreams.com/Israel26.
You know, Angel's testimony is just one of the many to show you how God has used your generosity to bless so many different children and mothers and fathers and grandparents around different villages through Uganda. So please go online to ElijahStreams.com/donate and partner with us to help us bring more water wells within this next year in 2026. I believe God is going to do incredible things as he has continued to go above and beyond through this ministry. So thank you so much. Bless you as you give. I pray you have an amazing Christmas time with your family, and that God has showed you through these videos just how much of an impact you really are having. All right, my guest today is an audiologist. He's an author. He's an avid World War II history researcher. He studies biblical eschatologies, eschatology. He has taught so many of us about the coming change in the financial system through NESARA and what that will look like when it's implemented. So please help me welcome Dr. Scott Young.
Eric called me and said, "Hey, what are your top five favorite Christian broadcasts?" And I said, "You got to get on Elijah Streams. You got to get on his show."
Welcome back again to the show, Dr. Scott. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I always learn something new. And many people are discussing this change in the financial system that's quickly approaching. And some people are saying that we may see a total doing away with the Federal Reserve in general. So what are your thoughts about the Fed and what we will see in the future regarding the Federal Reserve?
Well, a couple things that are going on. I mean, Trump has been talking about how do we fix everything. He's not just been talking about the Fed, he's been talking about the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been putting everything in the crosshairs. I mean, he brought up Tina Peters. He's been bringing up Congress. He's been putting everything in the crosshairs. And actually, I wanted to show you guys a video a little bit about something fascinating. If we just show this little video, it just shows you how many things are out of balance here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just show this little video here. We'll kind of show how weird things are that don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll kind of show this little video in the background here. So this little video here, we'll back it up here as we go along here. We'll kind of play it. What this video does is Pelosi versus Warren Buffett and the S&P 500. That her investments go so much farther than anyone else's investments ever have done. Do you know? And we'll leave it up there at the last little part.
Look at that.
Look at the investments from
Wow.
2012 to 2022. Okay. And you're saying that how can her investments, her personal investments, go beyond the smartest person in the room? And you go, wait a second, how does she possibly do that? And this isn't just her. We could talk about this with every single congressional leader. We could talk about this with Pelosi. We could talk about this with everyone in Congress and Senate. What are they doing that is getting behind it? So how come AOC comes in as a lowly bartender and she is worth, 30, 40, 50 million dollars?
Oh my goodness.
Bernie Sanders has hundreds of millions of dollars. And frankly, we don't actually know how much money they have. Now, Pelosi supposedly has, now this is what they say, $200 million. No, you guys are going to be startled and you're not going to believe me because you're going to go Wikipedia her. But she has trillions of dollars.
Wow.
And you're going, no, she doesn't. Yes,
Wow.
she does, because she has access to funds and monies, and she is touching into the Federal Reserve monies. She is going into the Federal Reserve. How is she doing that? She is going into the IRS funds, into funds that she should never be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're talking about ending the Fed and doing all of this stuff, all of these monies that you're saying, wait a second, what are they doing? Why are they crying about the narco terrorism that Trump just said the other night, that he is turning off 94% of the drug trade, and they're on TV screaming about the drugs turning off in America. Why? It's because that's what they're upset about, not the people dying on the streets.
Correct.
And so what I'm trying to tell you is that they're all interrelated. And so it's so layered in here. And that's what I'm trying to say is it's so scary when you realize how deep and layered it is. So when Trump says, for instance, the other day, he said, we're going to take $1.4 billion and we're going to give it back to the troop at 1776. And why would he say 1776 to all of the troops? He's saying we're going back to the Constitution. We're going back to the way things were.
Yes.
It is a sign back to the people. We are going back, and we're gonna take them all out in that way. And so that's why it is a big sign of what's to come. So I just wanted to kind of give you some of that little background here, and just say that some things aren't exactly what you think they are.
Yeah.
So as we kind of go into this, let's just kind of bring up the PowerPoint here, and we'll show you a little bit about this as we go along here. So as you know, no one is doing these QFS cryptos. No, if you see me online, that isn't me online. I know people say this online. I'm talking to Dr. Scott every day. No, you're not.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Okay. How do we know that the Fed is dying? Okay, so I want to show you this little thing. When you have blue lines and red lines are bad things, right?
Usually, yes.
Okay, so in 2020, when everyone else should have been in a really ugly red line, if you were looking at my P&Ls, okay, good times should have been good times. Now in 2019, we were in a good shape, right? In 2020, we actually had red lines, okay, because no one was showing up in the door, right? Because they were screwing around with the world. But look at the banks. The banks were in a massive positive realm. Why were they in a positive realm? See, the world was shut down, but they are in a massive income.
It's got to be tied to pharma somehow.
Yeah, it's because first off, think about this. This should be like crazy to you. If every single small business was hurting,
Yes.
every single business was closed, right? The world was hurting, but Walmart was open. Do you know that I just want you guys to go ask and maybe you guys don't do this very much, but go ask your local alcohol store if they were open during 2020, and every one of them will tell you they were open all the time, and they were just blowing and going with alcohol. Why was alcohol stores open and their local, a thrifty store was not open, for instance, or any other little
restaurants?
Restaurants were open.
Yes.
All these other places were open. And so this is the sick thing that was happening. But then it started to turn in late 22, and then we started to see everything go red. So something started to happen. Now we see the same thing in percentages. We started to see securities. They were started to lose money dramatically. And there was a big dramatic shift happening here. Okay. So
was that that's in 2022 as well, correct?
Yeah, that same 2020 timeframe, they started to lose a ton of cash here. Okay. So this is a very scary thing for the Fed. Okay. So let's show you this one here. Now, some of you might have seen me talk about this, but I want to slow down and I want to show you a little bit about this. 2006. This is before the scariest time frame of the 2008 stock market crash. Okay. So we have the banks are dying and hurting badly. Okay. So is everyone else, right? So this is what these are called held to maturity securities or available securities. So what happens? So let's just say you're a big investment security place, a bank. And so let's say you put $50 million and you want to be able to put it out there and get $5 million back. But you put it out there and let's say you have a 6-month period of time and you want to get $5 million back. So you put it out there as a security point, right?
Mhm.
But you're losing money. So you lost money up until about 2009. But wait a second, how come when everyone else in 2010, 11, and 12, how come we were saying we were losing our houses? We were losing our homes. We were losing our businesses, but they were gaining a ton of money. This is when they supposedly were getting $250 billion of bailouts, but yet we were losing everything. See, this is when this is the sickness of the banking system. And no one wants to talk about this, that they were gaining a ton of money. And they supposedly paid it back within 3 years. Yes, that's exactly right. Because they were stealing from us, stealing blind. So Obama's in here. They're loving everything. This is the Obamacare kind of time frame as well.
Okay.
So, and then they start to lose it a little bit. They start to stabilize. And then Trump comes in 2016. And then they start going, oh, wait a second. Trump's spanking us, right? And they get spanked really hard here because Trump starts messing with them. And they start really losing out because this is the time frame that he starts to institute the executive orders against them. These are the executive orders 13818, and he starts to take everything back from them. And I could go on this one for days. And this is what you talked about. This is 2020. This is all the 2020 timeframe. This is all the scam. Okay. So this is the scam worse than 2008. And then look at what's happening today. This is unrecoverable. Look
how that's bad.
This is worse. This is why I keep saying to you guys, this is worse. This is all the investments. This is worse than every single, this is put together the stock market crash of 1929 and multiply that by 30. And that's how close we are. There's no way to fix it, guys. So in July of 2025, they went back and put the Basel III reinstatement back on. And so what they did is said, you have to go back and be at 90% to loan to ratio kind of things. Don't worry about that one. But here's what happens. They also told everyone here that you had to open up your balance sheets and show everyone about it. That's why the banks are just freaking out, because now everyone gets to see all of this and show everyone. That's why we're seeing it when we didn't get to see it before. And see, now I'm showing you, the king has no clothing on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the Fed doing to solve itself? Now, it's a little hard to see, but basically what they're doing is that they're investing tons of money of their own money. So they injected, and this happened from when the government shut themselves down in October. So October 1, they injected $125 billion into themselves.
Whoa.
Then they went and did it in December, and then there's another one, and they've been doing it every single day. They injected another $28 billion.
So they just print out that much money, and then they just put it back in their
monopoly money.
Yeah, is that what? Right? They're just printing that money out, just printing it
go,
out.
boop, 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 boop. There we go. See, when I was growing up, my sister and I, we lived with, like, there was no other people around, right? I mean, we lived in 5 acres, and you really couldn't get anywhere, right? So my sister and I, like, we'd have Monopoly, and then we'd have like 2 other games going on around us, and our like little pieces would go into like, and other games. So we have like 4 board games going on. This is our summertime, right?
Mhm.
And so she's like 2 years younger than I, and we used to like take the $1 bills and we'd shove them over and make them $1,000 bills, right? Because
Mhm.
we would run out of money, right? Because this is just what we did. And
Mhm.
so, and by the way, we had no idea that we were playing Monopoly correctly. Did you know that in the 1920s, when Monopoly was created, it was actually trying to show us that the Fed could never run out of money. In Monopoly, you cannot run, the bank can never run out of money. You can
Mm.
actually take pieces of paper and write on them $500 bills and play as if it does, the bank never runs out of money.
Mhm.
But my question is when does the Monopoly money actually run out in the real world? And the answer is,
Never, I guess.
well, yeah, but see, that's
Just
what
printing it.
economists tell you, right? That's what the economists tell you. Well, they just keep writing the bills, and I go, guys, when do you stop, like, pulling it out of one hat and putting it into the other? Here's what they're doing. They're taking it from Treasury, and then they put it in the Fed, and then they put it from the Fed, and they put it in Treasury. This is what they do. And I'm like going, after a while, you can't really do it. It's like mom putting, rice. I mean, they're putting paper in the rice bag,
Mhm.
and then after a while, the kids are going, that rice tastes like paper.
Yeah. Yeah, or they get too negative and you just can't shift it anymore because you're
All right.
too negative now.
And guess what happens? It's called bankruptcy.
Mhm.
Okay. The only way to win in Monopoly is bankruptcy. And I know Trump keeps telling the people on the front end of this that everything's good. But I'm trying to tell you, and I'm not trying to tell you Trump is lying to you. What I'm trying to tell you, he's talking to the normies. Okay. You guys are awake. There's a good thing out there, and I'm going to tell you how you solve it. Okay. So let's talk about the solve. And we've sort of talked about this with you before, but I want to hit this one more time with you. Okay. The solve is really simple.
So I want to reiterate just real quick. This is the solve from your perspective, not of what we're going to see the Federal Reserve do.
Well, I think the Federal Reserve doesn't get to do this.
Okay.
The Federal Reserve is like, we're kicking you to the curb. Okay. You don't get to do this. It's Trump making the Treasury do this.
Okay.
So in essence, he's saying you don't get to play the game. Okay.
Mhm.
So you don't get to play the game anymore. Like, and so for instance, if 4 people are playing in the Monopoly game, because that's so good. I so love it when you stop me right there, Kelsey. Okay. And here's what happens. Let's say 4 people are sitting around the table, right? Let's say, Kelsey, you and your husband are playing with my wife and I, right? And Kelsey, let's say you go, I'm done. I'm not playing Monopoly anymore, right? What do we get to do with Kelsey's pieces? Well, she didn't get to choose anymore what she gets to do with her pieces, right?
Yeah.
So we get to take her pieces because Scott gets to take her pieces, and she didn't get to choose anymore what happens, right? I get to take her pieces. I get to do whatever I want to because I'm the one that put her in bankruptcy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we're doing here. So Trump and Treasury get to do this. Okay. So here's what happens. So we don't even know the exact number of the ounces of gold, but this is the guesstimate. If we have possibly 261 million of ounces of gold that are in reserve with, a potential number of $1.9 trillion in 2025 here. Okay. Treasury sets this. They set the number. They set this back in 1944 at $42 of an ounce. This is a dumb number. This is
And
what
it's still the same, correct?
yeah, they set the number a long time ago. This
Okay.
is why they set it to it. If we just took the number, the Scott number, I set this number back in 2020, and I set it to, I said if it was just $5,000, it would change the value to $1.3 trillion. It would up the value for everyone to $1.3 trillion beyond this number.
Okay.
On top of it.
On
okay?
top of it, I see.
On top of that number there. If it was 10,000, it would be 1.9 plus 2.6 trillion.
Wow.
Jim Rickards, who is a guy who used to work for Bush, actually said, well, it should be like 27K for the value of an ounce of gold. That would be 7.06 trillion on top.
Wow.
Now, here's what happens. And if we just said, well, how much gold is out there in the real world? And we don't even have a clue. I mean, because no one ever actually tells you. And I just did a really, a guesstimate. I mean, I was guessing like nobody's business. Like I was going, oh, okay, like I was doing Chat GPT and all kinds of other things, trying to come up with a number. And I was like, okay, 9,400 tons. And if, in 10% of Americans' hands. And I just said, just came up with a number. And I just said, what if 50% of Americans were just said they just wanted to sell their gold? And there was no IRS doing this, because just realizing that same thing. And we just said the number, and I'm just going to skip down to the bottom number here. What if we just took the Jim Rickards number here? Here's what would happen. The Americans would have, at 27K, they would be sitting in their hands, and they sold that gold. They would have $4 trillion sitting in their own hands. What would that mean if Americans had $4 trillion? 10% of Americans had $4 trillion to spend on their own, for their own needs.
It would stimulate the economy.
It would massively change the economy, right? They would, I'm not talking about them just buying boats and cars and stuff like that, which I don't care, right?
Right.
No one cares what they do, but they would go off and build and build houses, and they would do amazing things for churches and, all kinds of crazy cool things, right?
Yep. Reinvest it back.
Reinvest it, right?
To where,
Buy
yes.
businesses, right?
Yes.
But here's the cool thing. That would add into the treasuries, because they would sell it and that would go right back in the treasury. Just that, and it would add maybe 400, just a guesstimate, 413 million ounces of gold. It would increase, and we're just going to go with the bottom number here. It would increase the budget to $11 trillion.
Wow.
Now, guess what? Right now we're $1.9 trillion in the hole. Well, how do we solve the budget? Right there. I just solved the budget.
Yes.
By revaluing the gold, we solved the budget crisis instantaneously. And do you think Trump knows this? The answer is
Absolutely.
yes. And you know why he knows this? What is all over the Oval Office?
Gold.
Gold. Do you guys you should have like little chill bumps all over you, because he knows this. He's not a dummy here. Okay.
That's right.
So here's what I want you to understand. Even without payouts to American public in their gold, okay? Here's what happens. Gold would increase. The budget would be fixed. The Americans would be compensated for voluntarily massive increase of their gold, right? Inflation rates would be set to zero, because here's what happens. If you go back onto a gold-backed standard, you would have interest rates of this stupid stuff of interest rates would be set to a simple interest rates, because guess what? There's no more of this silly, crazy rates where they have these, massive rates that they've been doing. Inflation would be zero. Inflation is a fake thing
Caused by them.
caused by fiat markets.
Yeah.
Okay. A budget would be balanced for the first time in 80 years. And here's the fun thing. The national debt would be simply solved. Why would the national debt be simply solved? And I'll pull this off the screen you can pull that off the screen if you like to, guys. But here's what I want you to understand. Why would the national debt be solved? And he has actually said this. He said, you know what? Maybe we'll just write a check from Bitcoin. And you go, why would he say that?
Right.
Because he's saying we're not going to pay him back.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if Kelsey in Monopoly, when she can't pay the debt in bankruptcy, do I make her like work off her debt? No, in bankruptcy, she just goes away.
It's forgiven. Yeah.
It's done.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happens. We take the debt and we shove it down the throats of the cabal. And we say, go away, get out of here.
Yes.
We don't pay back the debt. We're not going to pay back the debt to those people. Who are we going to pay it back to?
Yeah, we all know the central banks.
We're not giving them any money.
Right, right.
Why would we give them money to do what? Make more wars?
Correct.
We're not doing that.
Correct. Yes, exactly. That's a excellent plan. And like you said, Trump already knows everything that you just shared. And what about for people who own like precious metals? That's a really good sign, right? I mean,
here's the fun thing. I mean, you guys have Andrew Sorkin and here's what happens. So for instance, I bought gold at 1600, right? And let's just say, I wanted to, sell it to him.
mhm,
Now, is Andrew going to make money? Because, it would be a transfer. He's obviously going to make money on it. Don't
mhm,
think that Andrew's not going to make money on it, because there's a transfer. He's going to make a commission. Okay.
mhm.
What is Andrew going to do? Andrew then would buy that gold back.
Yeah.
He would make a commission. Yes, he does. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
And he would tell you directly that that's exactly what would happen. And then he would sell it to Treasury, right? 'Cause
Yes,
he's not sitting on the gold because he's stacking it up in the backyard.
exactly.
He sells it to Treasury, and because he's getting rid of that kind of thing, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So what happens is that $4 trillion, or whatever the number they would set the thing to, that $4 trillion starts to back up for Treasury so that they can be able to do the things that they need to do. But that helps them. It helps the American people. It grows the government. It does so many good things for the people.
Yes.
And they start spending. That spending becomes a sales tax increase as well. It helps states do amazing things, because when you have a sales tax increase, that's a great thing for every single state.
Mm,
How is that not a good thing?
yeah.
It is a great thing for everyone involved. It
Mhm.
improves every single situation.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question now.
Sure.
The BRICS nations they're trying to go gold backed, right?
It's always been my belief, and I know he's talked against them, that when we have we talk about the quantum financial system, the BRICS nation, I believe the BRICS nations always have been our friend. I
Mm,
believe that the BRICS nations are the ones that have been pushing on the side just to go into the gold-backed currency. So what happens is that when we all go together, okay?
mhm, mhm.
But we're not going as like a CBDC or any kind of thing. we're going as sovereign nations. All of us
I
will be
see.
going gold-backed currency,
I
but
see.
we'll be sovereign nations, independent of one another.
Yeah.
But we all have to kind of go at the same basic time frame because we have to kick out the central bankers worldwide. That's why it's taken so long to do
Yes.
this kind of thing. When
Yes.
Trump says that he has 800 generals behind him, that's not 800 generals in America. That's worldwide conversations. So when you
Yes.
guys are talking to Dr. Jan and
Mhm.
you talk to Derek and they're talking about the military thing, this has
Yeah.
to be a worldwide operation that has to happen.
Because the deep state is everywhere, not just in America. And that has to be taken down as a whole through participation of every nation. Okay, I have a question for you. If the systems that we've trusted are being shaken, what does it look like for people to shift their trust without falling into fear or speculation? So when you talk about the Fed and, the changes, how do people not get into fear or speculation with that?
It's funny because I used to, when when I first started thinking about this stuff, and I used to sit down and like get into fear. And I remember that very clearly. I think it was in 2022 because I was in a big financial problem. One of the things that I started doing, and I'm a night owl in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to get into fear all the time.
Mm.
And then one of the things that I started doing is getting up at 3 and 4 in the morning. Now, I didn't do it this morning. I was up at 5. Forgive me, Lord.
We'll give you grace.
But I tend to get up at 3 and 4 in the morning. And one of the things I do, I find myself even at 5, I went from 5 to 5:30, and I'm sitting there, and most of the time I'm in quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like listening to God, and I'm just sitting there in prayer, and
Yeah.
I'm pouring out my unfaith. Okay.
That's good.
So what happens is that your fears are unfaith.
Mm.
Okay. So you have all these fears that bug you, right?
Yeah.
So what you're pouring out your fears, and the reality is, do you know that in the New Testament 6 different times it says before the foundation of the earth? Revelation 13:8, it says before the foundation of the earth the lamb was slain. That means
Amen.
before anything ever occurred, the Lord actually fixed everything. So do you think that the Lord, being outside of time, has already seen everything that has ever occurred?
Yes.
So he's not sitting there freaking out going, "Oh, who didn't send me the memo? Come
Yeah.
on." So if
Yes.
he's not freaking out about it, why are you freaking out about it?
Amen.
So one of the things that I had to do is get into a quiet place. And so I stopped predicting in 2022. So one of the things that I do is that, yes, I do think about day to day, week to week, month to month. And I've had some really difficult financial situations in the last couple months. Really tough financial
Wow.
situations in the last 2 months. And yet I do not worry about those things, even
Mhm.
though they are crushing at times.
Mm.
I've got major crushing situations that are hitting me, but I go,
Wow.
I can't do anything about them. What can I do?
Mhm.
Like, but the Lord's going, do you think I haven't seen them?
Mm.
Right? They're huge bills. They're 30, 40, $50,000 bills that I
Wow.
can't possibly pay.
Wow.
And yet God goes, I'll find a way. Like,
Mm.
okay. And so one of the things I do, I write them down on my booklet, and I go, there's a $50,000 bill,
Mm.
and I do or blank. And God finds a way to figure it out. And it's been, what, but that's actually been going on since 2009. I've been doing that by faith. So one of the
Wow.
things is that you can operate in fear or you can operate in faith.
Yeah.
You can choose.
It's a choice. Yes. That's so good. It's a choice. Wow. Well, we just pray for you right now, Dr. Scott, that God would just bring everything that you need. and that he would supply everything that you need and that you're believing for. We all agree with that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I want to first I want to say this because they wrote a little thing in my notes to remind me. If you have a question that you'd like to submit for Dr. Scott when he comes on the show, we read him questions usually towards the end. You can go to questionsfordrscott.com. So if you have any questions at all, please write us and we will add them to the list of questions that we ask to Dr. Scott when he comes on. So the first one for today is, NESARA is a new subject to me, and I'm very hesitant about it. If it will really happen and all our debt will be wiped out, can you explain more why people believe this?
So one of the things that I always kind of go is that there are two key elements. There is a big truther podcaster that doesn't believe in all this stuff, and I always kind of say, I remember talking to him, and I said, "Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in ending the IRS?" And he said, "Yes, absolutely." Good. Do you believe in ending the Fed? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I said, do you believe in the 14th Amendment under the fourth section where it says that national debt, if it is done by international kind of agencies, that is null and void? And it was written in 1868. And he said, yes, I agree with that one. And I said, okay, thank you. And I said nothing more to him. Do you know that those are the institutions of the basic points of NESARA?
Wow.
Guys, when Trump is saying we're going to close out the IRS, we're going to turn it into the ERS, he's basically that's like saying to Steve, you're going to operate for the rest of your life without a job, and you're going to have no income, but you're going to have huge amounts of you're going to have to pay everything without a job.
Mm-hmm. Can't do that. Yep.
You can't do that. See, the income of America comes from the IRS. 95% of the income comes from the IRS, and yet Trump is saying that he's going to run it from without the IRS. And economists are going, he can't do that. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, we're not going to pay we're not going to pay. And he talks about we're not going to pay the debt. Or he says, well, we'll pay off the debt, or we'll do this, and we're paying down the debt. And you're like, what they're doing, 13% of the budget is just paying the interest of the debt. The debt is unpayable. And
yeah, you can't.
And people go, you can't do this. and I'm trying to tell you, the debt is, I showed you, the debt is unpayable. It is an unpayable situation. And he's sitting up there going,
mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to tell you the situations. He is not sitting there freaking out about it. The NESARA thing is the whole thing was written into the circumstance that the Fed was doing illegal things. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing about the Fed and the IRS feeds the Fed, the two of them have to die.
Yes.
Simple points.
Yes. I 100% agree. Okay, how will our gold and silver work with crypto if we have no use for cash anymore?
You'll always have use for cash. So one of the things that occurs is that Trump actually wrote into the systems that a CBDC, or central bank digital currency, is no more. There will never be a central bank digital currency.
Awesome.
So at the same time that he wrote the big beautiful bill,
mm-hmm.
the CBDC was killed.
Great.
So that's the great reset that was dead. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about a gold-backed currency, that is done by the Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Silver is a completely different animal. That'll go up and down. It'll be untethered. It'll be, it'll go up dramatically. It might go up to $300. Right now, the last I saw, I think it was like $66. I think I'm looking at over here. It'll go up dramatically. Now, crypto, all crypto
Mhm.
it's just a vehicle to allow us to be able to move monies back and forth. It is not going to be anything more than that.
Okay.
Nothing else. Don't worry about it anything more than that. It's just a vehicle to utilize the gold back and forth. That's
I
it.
see. Okay.
Replacement of the Fed in essence.
Okay. Okay. So we're still gonna have cash. It's not like that will be
Yep.
completely done
You're
away with.
just,
You'll still have cash.
we're just going to have, it's instead of being called the dollar, it's just
Mhm.
going to be US Treasury notes.
Okay. I see. Okay, next question. Are there any signs or indicators we can look for to know when to expect everything to come to a halt in the new system to begin? So what are kind of the indicators that we're switching now to a new system?
Well, like, and I always kind of recommend you kind of watch what Derek's talking about with that too. But we have to have a halt system. We have to have an economic kind of circumstance. And by the way, Trump is talking about it from rigging the 2020 election. He keeps saying you're going to hear about the 2020 election. The reason why 2020 election is so powerful,
Mhm.
and you go, why is he talking about something that happened 4 years ago? You already won 2024. It's because the whole thing stopped right then. When you blow up the 2020 election issues,
Mhm.
it destroys all of everything that they've ever built out.
Mhm.
And so when it destroys everything that ever built out, it destroys Congress, it destroys Senate, it destroys SCOTUS, it
Yeah.
destroys all the states' SCOTUS points, it
Mhm.
destroys everything that happens in the Fed, it destroys the IRS points, it destroys all of the other layers around it.
Mhm.
It's so many things, it's not even funny. And what will happen, it will grind everything to a halt. And I know
Mhm.
you guys have had Lloyd Brunson on and the Brunson kind of things. It'll actually institute some of the Brunson kind of things, even if even if Brunson doesn't talk about it, it
Mhm.
might even bring Brunson case right back up, and they'll go, "Yeah, let's just do the Brunson thing anyway." Um,
Yeah.
the J6 things that are bringing up. Why are we seeing, for instance, Jack Smith? And they're not telling you that he's behind closed doors. He's getting hammered behind closed doors.
Mhm.
Why is Fannie Smith sitting in there with Louis Vuitton stuff on and saying, I didn't have any money? Why is she getting hammered? Because that's Georgia, the Georgia case about the election security. Okay.
Mhm.
And and that thing is getting hammered.
Yeah.
Um
And what's
all
going
of
on with Venezuela as well, because they're part of the voting machines.
Right. And that's the Dominion voting machine stuff. Everything it's all interrelated. We're talking about like this all moving thing. And see, sometimes people only want to look at the little pinpricks, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and you got to step back, right? Step back from the, and see, sometimes you're looking through the telescope and you can't see it. So you got to step back out of the telescope sometimes.
Mhm.
And so sometimes it's too big for you. And I get it. Step back from the telescope and look at the sky.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Okay. Next question. Will there still be credit reporting agencies? So within NESARA, it just removes all the debt. So there wouldn't be creditors.
Yeah. So for instance, we have credit scores like, 830 and 720 and all those other things.
Mhm.
You're not going to have a need for that. Now, will there be will there be credit in some way? Yeah. I mean, first off, you're still gonna have a credit card and capabilities for that. It's still your credit, okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
But will there be credit reporting? Not necessarily, okay? And we don't actually know what that's gonna mean. But you're not gonna be able to go off and go crazy on credit either.
Mhm.
So
They'll
let's
still
say,
have like a limit.
yeah, you still would have a limit, but let's say you had $5,000 limit. Okay,
Mhm.
let's say you have $4,000 on it, and it goes to zero because your debts get wiped out. And we
Mhm.
sort of talked about that. But you're gonna have to be really careful again. You gotta, because here's what happens. You're not gonna have another like, oh, a wipeout's gonna come out, every 2 years or 5 years.
Mhm.
People are going to have to start learning to live within their means. And I mean, not trying to oversell my book, but I'm going to tell you, I have a book called Revelations of the Red Pill. And I have been thinking about this. I wrote this in 2021, but I've been talking about people like start to live within your means. There is Robert Kiyosaki who talks about rich dad, poor dad. And
Oh,
people
yes.
need to start to understand living within your means is understanding what you do about how you live within your means. Knowing what
Yeah.
your ability to live within your means is really important with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Okay. One more question.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see, let me find a good one. Okay, how about this one? Will loans still be available if NESARA is implemented? If not, how would people who don't currently own a home or future generations be able to purchase one? Wouldn't eliminating all mortgages risk fueling inflation and pushing home prices higher if everyone owned their homes free and clear?
Yeah.
So
So
will loans still be available? Is the first question that.
number one, I mean, let's just use houses as the example. First off, yes, there has to be loans for mortgages and for other things. Okay. Listen, people don't just suddenly have money. Okay. I mean, they just don't suddenly have the cash to go buy, whether it's a car or
Mhm.
jewelry or other kinds of things. So listen, they're going to have needs out there. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, but let's just use an example of a house. For instance, house prices have gone up dramatically over the years. Now, houses are built off of comps. So, for instance, a $300,000 house in
Mhm.
your neighborhood is comped. So, if in your neighborhood you have 400 people in your neighborhood, it's all comped at basically 400 on an average. And that's what it means comps or competitives.
Mhm.
So if every house is paid off now, um, and you have a comp, well, more than likely, you're probably going to see the house values drop dramatically because every house is dropped in value.
Mhm.
And so what that comp value might go down is let's say the values might go down to 200,000 or
Yeah.
180. And people go, "Well, then my house dropped in value and I've lost that a whole bunch." Did you? Did
Yeah,
you really
you don't
lose?
have a mortgage now.
You don't have a mortgage,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, you if in a $300,000 house, if you put 20% down, you put $60,000. That's how much value you had in your house, $60,000.
Correct.
If your
Yeah.
house went down and your comp, your relative comp in that house was
Mhm.
180, what is your actual value that you have in your house? 180. So you had a 120 value available in your
Mhm.
house.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to go buy a higher end house because you have bigger needs, whatever that might be, and
Mhm.
you're going to buy a $120,000 house because that's a bigger house, well, no big deal. You're gonna spend $40,000 more for another house. That's
Mhm.
a better thing. So you need
Yeah.
to have a value to be able to go out and get that. Well, here's what's going to have to happen. In the past, pre banking situations, what they used to do is called a 7/8 loan.
Okay.
And so what they did is that you had to pay your interest up front. And
Mhm.
then after the interest was paid, then you would pay your loan ability. but the interest was done in simple interest kinds of things. So you would pay that interest over a very, a short end kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually watch this. There's episodes in MASH that the Colonel Potter had his wife send the loan, the house, and they would burn the note. It was very interesting, the bank note, and it was a real big celebration that they would pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of thing that would happen, that they owned their own house for that time frame. And so I think what you'll see is, yes, people will be able to get a loan, but the banks will actually be a little bit more strict on that and say, Scott, can you really, be able to buy that house?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to look at, your capability to buy that, be looking at, well, let's do an analysis of that.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Ramsey does a little bit of analysis when people come to him and they say, your personal financials on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be a conversation that we'll start looking at that, and people might get offended by that, but don't.
But it's to help you.
Do a budget.
Yeah.
Scott, I don't think that we're not going to loan you all that you think you want out of there, but we'll loan you this.
Right. Which would be the right thing to do.
Correct. Because we're not going to be able to loan something that we can't get paid back for.
Mm-hmm.
That's a correct way of doing that. And
Yeah.
that's responsible lending in that way.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So good. Let me check the back end of that question, make sure you answered everything. Okay.
So I think there's going to be all kinds of different loans that will happen. There definitely will be loans. We'll definitely get that, because people are not going to have the cash out there to do that. So that's absolutely going to happen. There will absolutely be loans, but it'll be much more responsible lending all the way through.
Okay. So it won't be, it won't fuel inflation and push home prices higher.
No,
Okay.
you'll see home prices lower,
Mhm.
and you'll see
Which
more
makes sense.
responsible lending all the way through and through.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, will you share with us how we can follow along with you and get your book that you showed for 5 seconds?
Yeah,
And
5 seconds for that too. So you go to drscottyoung.com. You can always kind of see that we have downloads kind of thing. I was actually doing something the other day. I was doing my, I've downloads with a very simple thing. I did I'm trying to finish. We're working so hard. We have a new book called Tribulation. We're trying to get this hard book done. It's really been super hard to get it on Amazon, but we're doing the last edit on this thing. But
oh, congratulations.
we're trying to get this dumb thing done, but it's really hard to get done. But there's all kinds of different downloads on there, but then also the books that you guys can see. And that's where you kind of see the website.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other different places, social media finds that you kind of look at too.
Okay, so just in general, go to drscottyoung.com and you will find everything you need.
Right. Revelations of Red Pill is the one of the most recent books with that too.
Well, that's a great read. I'm sure just the name alone, totally, I think makes us all go, yep, that's going to be a good read. Well, we love having you on the program. I really always learn so much whenever you're on, and you help me feel at ease too, knowing of what you even just shared about the testimony of you praying and seeking God and just putting your trust in Him and not in your own thoughts. You're leaning upon Him, and that's a great reminder for all of us. So as you kind of click off the show today, just remember that God knows exactly what you're going through. He sees every circumstance, and He is faithful and just to work in and through the situations that you're dealing with. We're so happy that you joined us today. Have a very blessed weekend. And Johnny Enlow will be here with us on Monday, so you won't want to miss it, for Johnny Enlow Unfiltered. We love you all so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.